Hey guys, tonight we travel to the Crusader kingdom of Jerusalem in the 12th century, a precarious island of Christian European power surrounded by a sea of powerful Muslim states. But we're not here to talk about the glorious charges of knights in shining armor. We're telling the story of their most courageous and most tragic king, Baldwin IV. A boy who was crowned king, a boy who became a brilliant military commander, and a boy who did it all, even after everyone in his kingdom knew he was afflicted with a terrible, secret, and incurable disease. So before we begin, if you enjoy these quiet dives into history's forgotten and often painful corners, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe. And as always, I'd love to know where you are listening from and what time it is in your part of the world. Now let's step into the sun-drenched but precarious world of the Crusader court and ease into the quiet, devastating discovery that would define a king's life. Congratulations. The year is around 1170. You are Baldwin, second in line to the throne of the Latin kingdom of Jerusalem. The good news, you are a prince, living a life of immense privilege in the holiest city on earth. You are surrounded by the great warrior nobles of Christendom. Your days are spent learning Latin and history, studying scripture, and most importantly, practicing swordsmanship and horsemanship on the dusty plains outside the city walls. You are being groomed to be a warrior king. The bad news, a shadow has been growing over your body. A quiet, creeping numbness that is about to steal your future and threaten the very existence of your kingdom. This is the first reason it sucks to be you. Your world is a fortress built on a knife's edge. This is a major historical fact that governs every aspect of your life. The Kingdom of Jerusalem, a state founded by the Knights of the First Crusade, is a fragile, isolated entity. It is constantly at war or in a state of tense truce with its powerful neighbors, particularly the growing empire of the Zengids under the brilliant Kurdish general who will one day be known as Saladin. The kingdom's survival depends on two things: a steady supply of knights and money from Europe, and strong, healthy, decisive leadership from its king. The king is not just a ruler, he is the commander-in-chief, the chief diplomat, and most importantly, the producer of healthy male heirs to continue the dynasty. A weak or sickly king is not a personal tragedy. It is an existential threat. You are a boy of 9. You are bright, handsome, and show a remarkable aptitude for your studies and your martial training. You love to ride. You are faster and more daring on horseback than any of your companions, the sons of the great barons of the realm. One day, your tutor, a learned and observant man named William, who will one day become the Archbishop of Tyre and the greatest chronicler of your age, is watching you and your friends at play. The boys are roughhousing, as boys do, digging their fingernails into each other's arms and hands in a test of strength and endurance. William notices something strange. While the other boys cry out in pain when they are pinched or hit, you do not. You endure their attacks with what he first thinks is remarkable stoicism. You do not even flinch. Curious, he approaches you later in private. He takes your right arm. He praises your bravery, but then he begins to pinch it hard. You feel the pressure, but there is no pain. He digs his nails into your hand. You feel nothing. This is the quiet, painless, and deeply terrifying moment that your life pivots from a golden future into a tragedy. This is not a sign of bravery. It is a symptom. It is the first telltale sign of the most feared and misunderstood disease of the medieval world: leprosy. The diagnosis is not immediate. Whether the court physicians immediately recognized your condition as the dreaded, disfiguring lepromatous leprosy, or if they held out hope for years that it was a less severe form of the disease that might not progress, is a detail lost to the quiet, desperate prayers of the royal court. In an age of faith and superstition, leprosy was not just a medical condition. It was seen by many as a divine judgment, a punishment from God for some hidden sin. For this to appear in a royal prince, the heir to the throne of the holy city itself, is a theological and political crisis of the highest order. For a few years, Your condition is a closely guarded secret. You continue your training. You continue your studies, but the numbness spreads, the weakness in your limbs grows. You are a boy living with a ticking clock, a slow, creeping decay that only you and a handful of trusted advisors are aware of. Then in 1174, your father, King Amalric, dies suddenly of dysentery. Your older brother had already passed away. The laws of succession are absolute. There is no other choice. You are 13 years old. You are a boy whose body has already begun to betray him. A boy who knows he will never have a normal life, will never marry, will never produce an heir, and will likely die a slow, disfiguring death. And in a grand ceremony in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, the holiest site in Christendom, you are crowned King Baldwin IV of Jerusalem. You have just been handed a death sentence, and even worse, a crown. The fate of the entire Crusader kingdom now rests on the frail, slowly decaying shoulders of a sick child. You are the King of Jerusalem, the holiest city on earth. You are also 13 years old, afflicted with an incurable disease, and now the figurehead of the most unstable and fractious kingdom in Christendom. Your first royal duty is not to lead armies or to dispense justice. It is to sit quietly on a very large, very uncomfortable throne and watch the adults in the room argue viciously about who gets to be in charge of you. Welcome to the High Court of Jerusalem. This is the next reason it sucks to be you. Your kingdom is about to be torn apart from the inside by the ambitions of your own family and your own nobles. Your father's death has created a power vacuum, and you, a sick child, are the empty space at its center. The court immediately splits into two venomous, competing factions. This is the major historical fact that will dominate your entire reign. On one side is the court party, led by your own mother, Agnes of Courtenay. The true character of your mother is one of the great historical debates. Was she a manipulative, power-hungry woman who constantly undermined the stability of the kingdom for personal gain, as her great enemy, your former tutor William of Tyre, portrays her? Or was she a fiercely protective mother trying to secure the position of her sick son in a court of ruthless, powerful men? The truth is likely a complex and messy combination of both. Her faction is full of newcomers to the kingdom, ambitious men who favor a hawkish, aggressive policy against the growing power of Saladin. They believe the best solution to any problem is a glorious and probably suicidal cavalry charge. On the other side is the party of the native barons, the established noble families of the kingdom. Their leader is your cousin, the powerful and respected Raymond III, Count of Tripoli. Raymond is a pragmatist. He understands the precarious reality of the kingdom. He believes in careful diplomacy, strategic truces, and strengthening the kingdom's defenses. His faction believes the best solution to any problem is a long, complicated, and very boring treaty. These two factions hate each other with a passion that is usually reserved for holy wars. And you are the prize they are fighting over. You must govern through the Haute Cour, or High Court of Jerusalem. This is an obscure but vital part of your political reality. It is the feudal council of all your most powerful barons. It is not an advisory body, it has real power. The High Court must approve all major decisions, the declaration of war, the signing of treaties, the levying of taxes, and most importantly, it has the right to choose the regent who will rule in your name until you come of age. It is a system designed to ensure the king consults his barons. It is also a system designed to ensure that nothing can ever be decided quickly or without a very long, very loud, and very personal argument. At first, a man named Miles of Plancy, a favorite of your father, manages to seize the regency. He is quickly assassinated in the streets of Acre, a convenient murder that everyone suspects was orchestrated by Raymond of Tripoli. Raymond is then duly elected as your new regent by the High Court. This is the world you now inhabit, a world where a political disagreement is often solved with a knife in a dark alley. As king, you are forced to preside over the sessions of the High Court. You sit on your throne, your royal robes hiding the first signs of the disfigurement that is to come, and you listen. You listen for hours as the great lords of your kingdom debate, argue, and trade veiled insults. They are not just arguing about policy, they are arguing about the future. They are arguing about who will rule after you are gone. A callback to the discovery of your illness, your leprosy, is the great unspoken subject of every conversation. Everyone in this room knows you will not live to have a wife or a child. Your heir is your older sister, Sibylla. Therefore, the man who marries Sibylla will one day become the king of Jerusalem. Every decision, every alliance, every argument is part of a complex, vicious chess game to control your sister and, through her, the future of the kingdom. You are the king, but you are a pawn. You are the sacred, anointed ruler, but you are also a dying boy whose inheritance is already being carved up by the vultures in his own court. You learn to be silent. You learn to listen. You learn very quickly to distinguish the flatterers from the schemers, though you find they are often the same person. You watch your mother, Agnes, maneuver to place her allies in positions of power. You watch your regent Raymond try to hold the kingdom together through careful diplomacy, and you begin to form your own opinions, your own strategies. You are learning that the greatest threat to the kingdom of Jerusalem is not Saladin's armies on the frontier. It is the unchecked ambition and the petty jealousies of the Christian nobles who are supposed to be defending it. While the great lords of your kingdom scheme and argue in the high court, a quieter, more insidious enemy is waging a relentless war against you. This is the next and most personal reason it sucks to be you. Your own body is a traitor. You are living through the slow, grinding, and deeply unglamorous horror of your disease. The numbness that first appeared in your right arm as a boy, a callback to that fateful day of play, has not receded. It has spread. It is a quiet, creeping tide, stealing parts of you, bit by bit. This is the grim historical fact at the center of your life. You have what modern doctors would diagnose as leprosy, the most severe form of the disease. In the 12th century, there is no cure. There is no effective treatment. There is only a collection of useless herbal remedies, desperate prayers, and the profound social and religious stigma of being seen as unclean, a person marked by God for some unknown sin. The psychological impact of this disease on a teenage boy, let alone a king, is something the chronicles, focused on your kingly duties and heroic battles, can never fully capture. Did you fall into pits of despair in the privacy of your royal chambers? Or did your famous public piety and unwavering courage reflect a genuine, profound inner strength and an early acceptance of your cruel fate? Your morning routine is not like that of other kings. It does not begin with reviewing troop reports or planning grand strategies. It begins with a quiet, personal inventory of what part of your body has stopped working today. You wake and test your fingers and toes for sensation. You can hold a hot coal from the brazier in your hand and not feel the burn, which would be a neat party trick that you are, of course, forbidden from showing to anyone. The loss of pain is not a superpower. It is a terrifying vulnerability. It means you can injure yourself and not know it. A simple cut on your foot from a rough stone, a burn on your hand from a carelessly handled lamp, these are injuries you cannot feel. And any wound, no matter how small, can become infected and lead to a slow, agonizing death. So you must constantly, vigilantly check your own body for damage, a stranger cataloging the decay of your own house. Then there is your appearance. You are a teenager, an age of vanity and self-consciousness for anyone. But you are forced to watch in a polished silver mirror as your own face begins to change. The disease causes a thickening of the skin, a slow distortion of your features. The first lesions, reddish patches that have lost all feeling, begin to appear on your face and hands. You begin to practice the art of concealment. You learn to keep your face in shadow when speaking to courtiers. You develop a habit of resting your chin on your hand to hide a mark on your cheek. You start to wear gloves, even indoors. This is the obscure, tragic beginning of the legend of the Masked King. It does not start with a grand, mysterious silver mask, but with the simple, desperate tricks of a sick boy, trying to hide his own decay from the prying, judgmental eyes of his own court. You know what they whisper. They see you as a walking symbol of the kingdom's own fragility. They see your disease as a divine omen, a sign that the kingdom of Jerusalem, like its king, is doomed. Every stumble, every sign of weakness is noted, analyzed, and factored into the endless political calculations of the men around you. A callback to the viper's nest of your own court. Your physical decay is the central topic of their secret conversations. Your health is directly tied to the health of the state, and yet you must rule. You must project an image of strength and vitality that you do not feel. You continue your martial training, even as your hands grow weaker and your grip on a sword becomes more difficult. You force yourself to ride your horse every day, to be seen by your people as a vigorous and capable warrior king, even if the effort leaves you exhausted and in pain for days. Every day of your life is a performance, an act of sheer, stubborn, iron-willed deception. You are fighting a war on two fronts, one against the growing power of Saladin outside your walls, and another, much more intimate and unwinnable war against the slow, silent collapse of your own body from within. At the age of 15, in the year 1176, the regency officially ends. You are now declared of age to rule in your own right. Congratulations. Your reward for surviving puberty is to be given full personal responsibility for a politically unstable, strategically vital kingdom surrounded by enemies, all while your own body is slowly and methodically disintegrating. It is a challenging promotion. The great lords of the realm, including your powerful cousin Raymond of Tripoli, formally relinquish their authority to you. You are now the king, not just in name, but in fact. And your first and most immediate problem is not the growing power of Saladin. It is the profoundly complicated matter of your sister's love life. This is the next reason it sucks to be you. Your entire political world revolves around who your sister, Sibylla, will marry. A callback to the brutal fact of your leprosy. Everyone knows you will never have a wife or a child. Your sister is your heir. Therefore, her husband will one day be the King of Jerusalem after you are gone. This makes her the most eligible and most politically explosive bachelorette in all of Christendom. Your job as king is less about making grand decisions for the realm and more about acting as a very tired and very ill referee in an endless wrestling match between your mother's friends and your cousin's friends over who gets to control the future king. The true nature of your relationship with your sister Sibylla is complex. Was she a loyal, if politically naive sister whom you tried to guide? Or was she an ambitious player in her own right, deeply influenced by her mother's faction and often working at cross purposes to your own more cautious policies? What is certain is that you need to find her a husband, and quickly. You need a man of high, noble birth from Europe, someone who can bring fresh troops and money to your struggling kingdom. You need a man who is a skilled military commander, capable of leading the armies of Jerusalem after you are no longer able. And most importantly, you need someone who is not so ambitious that he decides to murder you to speed up the succession process. The list of suitable candidates is worryingly short. You and your regent, Raymond of Tripoli, make a sound strategic choice. You arrange a marriage for Sibylla with William of Montferrat, a nobleman from northern Italy, known as Longsword for his military prowess. He is well connected, a cousin to both the Holy Roman Emperor and the King of France. He is the perfect candidate. He arrives in the kingdom, marries your sister, and is made the Count of Jaffa and Ascalon. You have, it seems, solved the succession crisis. You have brought a strong, capable new leader into the kingdom. But this is the court of Jerusalem, a callback to the viper's nest you grew up in. Every decision, no matter how wise, creates new enemies. Your mother, Agnes of Courtenay, and her faction are displeased. William is an ally of Raymond of Tripoli, which strengthens Raymond's influence at court and weakens theirs. They begin to scheme. The delicate balance of power you have tried to create is already beginning to fray. Your life as king is an endless, exhausting balancing act. You must manage the powerful, semi-independent barons of your kingdom, men who owe you liege homage, a feudal oath of loyalty, but who are powerful kings on their own lands. You must constantly mediate their petty jealousies and ancient rivalries. And then, your perfect solution collapses. Just a few months after his marriage, your new brother-in-law, William Longsword, catches a sudden, violent illness, likely malaria. He dies in the summer of 1177. Your sister Sibylla is left a pregnant widow. The succession crisis, which you thought you had solved, is now back, and it is worse than ever. The factions at court immediately begin plotting again, proposing new candidates for your widowed sister's hand. You are now 16 years old. Your disease is progressing. The lesions on your skin are more noticeable. The weakness in your limbs is more pronounced. You are trying to manage a kingdom, hold back the rising power of Saladin. And now you must once again plunge into the treacherous waters of European dynastic politics to find another husband for your sister. You are a dying boy, trying to do the job of 3 kings, while the powerful, healthy, and deeply ambitious men of your own court circle around you like vultures, waiting for you to fall. The weight of the crown is heavy, but the weight of your own decaying body is heavier still. Your sister is a widow, and she is pregnant with the future heir to the kingdom. Your perfect plan to secure the future has crumbled into dust. You are now back at the very beginning, but the situation is even more precarious. The vultures in your court, who had been momentarily silenced by the arrival of William Longsword, are now circling lower, their whispers louder and more insistent. Every unmarried nobleman in Europe with a distant claim to royalty and a tolerance for hot weather is now a potential candidate to be the next king of Jerusalem. Your court is flooded with letters of condolence that are, in reality, job applications for the position of your sister's next husband. But while your own Christian nobles are busy plotting marriage alliances and arguing over the future of a kingdom, you are still very much alive to rule. A far more dangerous and intelligent man is watching your internal chaos with keen interest. This is the great historical fact that looms over every moment of your reign, the rise of Salah al-Din Yusuf ibn Ayyub, known to your world as Saladin. He is no longer just a brilliant general. He has consolidated his power in both Egypt and Syria, uniting the Muslim states that surround your kingdom under his own singular charismatic rule for the first time in generations. He has effectively encircled your fragile kingdom in a ring of steel. You are a 16-year-old boy, ravaged by a disease that is slowly crippling you, trying to manage a court of backstabbing relatives and ambitious barons. And your primary opponent is the most powerful and brilliant military and political leader the Islamic world has seen in centuries. He is patient, he is pious, and he has a single unifying goal: to drive you and every other Christian out of the Holy Land and to recapture Jerusalem for Islam. It is not an entirely fair fight. In the autumn of 1177, seeing the political chaos in your kingdom following the death of William Longsword, Saladin decides the time is right to strike. He gathers a massive army, perhaps as many as 26,000 elite soldiers, and invades your kingdom from the south, marching from Egypt towards the crucial fortress city of Ascalon. Your military situation is catastrophic. The bulk of your army, led by your cousin Raymond of Tripoli, is away in the north, engaged in a pointless and ill-advised campaign. You are in Jerusalem with only a few hundred of your personal household knights and a few thousand infantry. You are outnumbered, you are cut off from your main force, and Saladin is marching on the heart of your kingdom. Your advisors, your physicians, and your mother all beg you to stay in the safety of Jerusalem. You are sick, you are a boy. Your right arm is now almost completely numb, making it difficult to even hold the reins of a horse, let alone a sword. To ride out and face Saladin with such a small force is not just a military gamble. It is an act of suicidal madness. But you know something they don't. You know that the one thing a king cannot show in this world is fear. The moment you are seen to be hiding behind the walls of Jerusalem while your kingdom is invaded, your authority will be shattered forever. So you make a decision that will define your legend. You order your small force to be assembled. This is an obscure but vital detail of your character. You may be a sick boy, but you are also the anointed king of Jerusalem, a direct descendant of the great Crusader hero Godfrey of Bouillon, and you have an iron will that seems to burn brighter as your body decays. You invoke your right as king to summon the arrière-ban, a call to arms for every able-bodied man who can hold a spear. You also make a desperate appeal to the one force in the kingdom that is more feared than any other, the Knights Templar. Against all advice, you decide to ride out from Jerusalem to meet Saladin. You are strapped into your saddle, your body already weak with the constant low-grade fever that now accompanies your disease. You are a 16-year-old leper king, leading a tiny, cobbled-together army of a few hundred knights and a few thousand-foot soldiers to face the greatest army in the east. As you ride out of the Jaffa Gate, the people of Jerusalem line the streets. They see their sick young king, his face likely already showing the first signs of leonine disfigurement, and they weep and pray. They are convinced they are watching you ride to your death. And by any rational calculation, they are absolutely right. You ride at the head of your tiny army. The journey from Jerusalem to the coast is a desperate, dusty march under a relentless sun. You are 16 years old, and the weight of your entire kingdom rests on the thin, mail-clad shoulders of the few hundred knights who follow you. Your body is a symphony of quiet pain. The leprosy has made your limbs weak, and every jolt of the horse sends a fresh wave of exhaustion through you. You keep your right arm, the one that has lost most of its feeling, held close to your body. You cannot properly wield a sword with it, but you can still hold the reins of your warhorse. For now, you are leading an army that is less of a professional fighting force and more of a religious procession with very sharp objects. You have a few hundred knights, a few thousand-foot soldiers, and the Bishop of Bethlehem carrying what is said to be a piece of the true cross. Your enemy, Saladin, has 26,000 elite veteran soldiers. From a purely mathematical standpoint, this is not going to end well. Saladin, the great Sultan, knows the size of your force. He knows you are a sick boy king. He makes a rare and fatal mistake. He becomes arrogant. So confident is he of his inevitable victory that he allows his massive army to become spread out and disorganized as they march towards the fortress of Ascalon. He gives his soldiers permission to pillage the surrounding villages, assuming you are safely hiding behind the walls of Jerusalem. He has forgotten that even a very sick, very small lion is still a lion. You, meanwhile, have managed to link up with a force of 80 Knights Templar, the most disciplined and feared warriors in your kingdom. Your small army is now slightly less small, but significantly more dangerous. On November 25th, 1177, near a place called Montgisard, your scouts report the impossible. You have caught Saladin's army completely by surprise. They are scattered, disorganized, and crossing a ravine, their baggage train exposed. This is your only chance. It is a moment for either a glorious victory or a swift and total annihilation. There is no middle ground. You order your army to halt. The Bishop of Bethlehem brings forth the holy relic of the true cross. This is an obscure but immensely powerful part of your kingdom's arsenal. It is a piece of wood encased in gold and jewels, believed to be from the very cross of the crucifixion. You dismount from your horse, your legs barely supporting you. You prostrate yourself on the ground before the holy relic. Your men, seeing their young sick king praying in the dust, are overcome with a wave of profound, fanatical piety. They are not just fighting for their kingdom anymore. They are fighting for their king, for their faith, and for the physical remnant of their God. You rise to your feet. You are no longer just a boy. You are a holy warrior, an instrument of God's will. You are strapped back onto your horse. At the decisive moment, you give the order to charge. You, a 16-year-old boy whose right arm is numb and useless, lead from the front, riding in the front rank alongside the Knights Templar. The force of the Crusader heavy cavalry charge is like a thunderbolt from a clear sky. It is a beautiful, glorious, and completely insane act of collective suicidal bravery. And somehow, in a way that will be debated by military historians for centuries, it works. The charge slams into the unprepared and overconfident Egyptian flank of Saladin's army with the force of an avalanche. The Mamluk Guard, the Sultan's personal elite, is shattered. Panic rips through the Saracen army. They are attacked from the front by your cavalry and from the flank by the knights from the fortress of Ascalon, who have now joined the fray. The battle dissolves into a chaotic, one-sided slaughter. Saladin himself is nearly captured. His own bodyguard has to cut the straps of his camel to allow him to escape, and he flees for his life back to Egypt on a racing camel with only a handful of his men. The victory is absolute, total, and miraculous. You have destroyed one of the largest armies ever assembled by Saladin. You have captured his entire baggage train. You have saved your kingdom. But as the sun sets over the battlefield, littered with the bodies of thousands of enemy soldiers, you feel no elation. The adrenaline of the battle fades, and it is replaced by a pain and an exhaustion so profound, it is almost a living thing. You have demanded more from your decaying body than it had to give. The effort has broken you. You are helped from your horse, barely able to stand. You are the great hero of Montgisard, the boy king who defeated Saladin. You are also a sick child who has just burned through a year of his remaining life force in a single afternoon of glorious, agonizing effort. The victory is yours, but the price is written in the very fibers of your own flesh. You have bought your kingdom time. Your stunning victory at Montgisard has cemented your reputation as a military hero, a king favored by God. Saladin, having suffered the most humiliating defeat of his career, is forced to lick his wounds and deal with other problems in his own vast empire. For a brief, precious period of about 2 years, an uneasy peace settles over the frontiers of your kingdom. But this is the next reason it sucks to be you. A king's work is never done, and the work of peace is often far more tedious and exhausting than the work of war. You are the hero of Montgisard, the boy king who fez o grande Saladino fugir num camelo de corrida. Os bardos da Europa escrevem canções sobre si. Você é uma lenda viva. A sua vida diária, no entanto, consiste em sentar-se durante 6 horas numa sala abafada, a ouvir 2 dos seus barões, a discutir sobre uma cerca partida e um porco roubado. This is the grim reality of your reign. A callback to the vicious infighting you witnessed as a boy. You are now the chief referee for the endlessly argumentative, self-interested, and arrogant nobles of your kingdom. Your life is an endless series of sessions in the Haute Cour, the High Court of Jerusalem. Here, you must personally listen to and arbitrate the constant petty disputes of your vassals. You must become an expert in the Assizes de Jerusalem, the incredibly complex legal code of your kingdom. It is a labyrinth of French feudal law, local customs, and Byzantine regulations. You spend your dias a mediar disputas sobre quem tem o direito de cobrar impostos, sobre um carregamento de azeitonas ou qual ramo de uma família tem o direito de herdar um pequeno e rochoso pedaço de terra. É menos glamouroso do que lutar contra os sarracenos, mas de muitas maneiras igualmente exaustivo. How you, a young man in his late teens with no formal legal training and a progressive debilitating illness, managed to master the complexities of the kingdom's legal code and command the respect of your older, battle-hardened barons, is a testament to your extraordinary intelligence and willpower. You preside over the court, your royal robes hiding your increasingly frail body. You must project an image of serene, unshakable royal authority, enquanto as suas mãos estão tão dormentes que mal consegue segurar uma pena. e as suas pernas estão numa dor constante e lancinante. You are the embodiment of justice in a body that feels like a profound and inescapable injustice. Your political balancing act is also relentless. The two court factions, a callback to the divisions that defined your childhood, are still constantly vying for your favor. Your mother, Agnes of Courtenay, and her allies are always pushing for more power, for key appointments, for a more aggressive stance against your neighbors. Your cousin, Raymond of Tripoli, and the established native barons advocate for caution, for diplomacy, for strengthening the kingdom from within. Every legal decision you make, every title you grant, every contract you approve is scrutinized by both sides, seen as a victory for one and a defeat for the other. You are constantly walking on a political tightrope, trying to hold the fragile kingdom together while its most powerful men seem determined to tear it apart for their own personal gain. Despite your failing health, you are an active and effective king. This is a major historical fact of your reign. You are not a figurehead. You oversee the administration of justice. You manage the kingdom's finances, and you focus on the most practical and vital of all royal duties, building. You pour resources into strengthening the kingdom's defenses, commissioning the construction of a formidable new castle, Chastelet, at a strategic river crossing on your northern border, known as Jacob's Ford. It is a massive, expensive, and vital project. You are a dying boy, racing against time, trying to build stone walls that will protect your kingdom long after your own body has turned to dust. The glory of Montgisard is a distant, fading memory. The daily reality of your life is the boring, thankless, and absolutely essential grind of governance, a burden made 1,000 times heavier by the silent, relentless war you are fighting within your own skin. The fragile peace you won at Montgisard holds for a time, but the peace within your own palace is shattered. A callback to a crisis you thought you had solved. The death of your brother-in-law has reopened the gaping wound at the heart of your kingdom, the succession. Your sister Sibylla is now a young, pregnant widow. The male child she eventually bears, your nephew and namesake Baldwin, is now the heir to the throne after her. But he is an infant. The kingdom still needs a man, a capable military commander, to marry your sister and act as a future king and protector of the realm. And so, the vicious, backstabbing political game begins anew. This is the next reason it sucks to be you. Your failing body forces you to constantly try to delegate your own future, to find a worthy successor, but you are surrounded by a cast of deeply unworthy candidates. You are once again tasked with finding a husband for your sister. The fate of Jerusalem depends on your choice. The available candidates are a collection of ambitious European second sons, landless political opportunists, and charming fools. It is a deeply unimpressive selection of potential kings. For a time, a match is arranged with the powerful Duke of Burgundy. It seems a sound choice, but he takes one look at the political viper's nest of your court, the constant threat from Saladin, and the general instability of the kingdom, and he makes a polite excuse and sails back to France. He wants a wife, not a permanent high-stakes military crisis. The search continues. And then, in 1180, a new candidate arrives from France, a callback to the newcomers your mother favors. His name is Guy of Lusignan. He is a minor nobleman from Poitou. He is famously, breathtakingly handsome. He has excellent posture, a charming smile, and the kind of easy, aristocratic confidence that makes women swoon and sensible men check their purses. He is also, by all reliable accounts, arrogant, foolish, of mediocre intelligence, and possessed of no discernible military or political talent. Your sister Sibylla is immediately and completely smitten with him. You, on the other hand, are filled with a profound and accurate sense of dread. The exact circumstances of Sibylla's marriage to Guy are a matter of intense historical debate. Was she truly swept off her feet by a whirlwind romance? Was the marriage a clever political coup orchestrated by your mother, Agnes, to place her own easily controlled favorite in line for the throne? Or were you, Baldwin, your health worsening, in a moment of weakness and sheer exhaustion from the endless bickering, simply outmaneuvered and forced to make a hasty, disastrous decision? What is certain is that your mother's faction champions Guy with all their might. Your sister insists. The political pressure is immense. You resist at first. You know Guy is the wrong choice. You have seen his arrogance, his lack of substance, but you are sick. A callback to your decaying body. Your illness is flaring up. The fevers are more frequent. The pain is constant. You are tired. You are tired of fighting Saladin. You are tired of arbitrating petty legal disputes. And above all, you are tired of fighting your own family. And so, in a moment of profound, weary resignation, you relent. You give your royal consent. Your sister Sibylla marries Guy of Lusignan. You have just secured the future of your kingdom by placing it in the hands of a man whose primary qualification for the job is being very good-looking. This will not end well. The marriage is a political catastrophe. It shatters the fragile unity of your court. Your cousin, the powerful and competent Raymond of Tripoli, is so disgusted by the choice, by the elevation of this arrogant newcomer, that he withdraws from court in a fury. The native Baron faction is alienated. Your kingdom, which you have fought so hard to hold together, is now more dangerously divided than ever, and you, the Leper King, are the one who sanctioned it. You try to make the best of it. You grant Guy the county of Jaffa and Ascalon, an obscure but vital detail, making him one of the most powerful lords in the kingdom through his wife's dower. You try to train him, to mentor him, to give him military command. It is a disaster. He proves to be an indecisive and incompetent commander. You have placed a fool in the position of your successor, and the knowledge of that failure is a heavier burden than your disease. You lie awake at night, your body in agony, and you are haunted not by the fear of Saladin, but by the face of the handsome, incompetent man who will one day inherit everything you have suffered to protect. Your disastrous choice of a brother-in-law has immediate and catastrophic consequences. The appointment of Guy of Lusignan as your potential successor has fractured your kingdom. The court is a snake pit of simmering resentment. But the true danger of your situation is not the arguments in your council chamber in Jerusalem. It is the actions of your so-called subjects on the frontiers. This is the next reason it sucks to be you. You are the king, but you are completely unable to control your most powerful and reckless barons. They act as independent kings, and their actions are dragging you into a war you know you cannot win. The most problematic of these is Reynaud of Châtillon, the lord of the vast and powerful fiefdom of Ultra-Jourdain. He is a callback to the type of aggressive, hawkish noble your mother favors. You are the king, but some of your barons are more like powerful, heavily armed business partners who occasionally listen to your suggestions. Reynaud is a man whose personal philosophy seems to be, why engage in tedious diplomacy when you can just steal everything and set things on fire? His primary base of operations is Kerak, an obscure but strategically vital fortress east of the Dead Sea. It is a massive, almost impregnable castle that sits directly astride the main caravan routes connecting Egypt and Syria. This gives Reynaud immense personal wealth from tolls and the power to disrupt the entire economy of Saladin's empire at will. You, a man whose body is failing, have staked the survival of your kingdom on a strategy of careful, calculated diplomacy. You have negotiated a delicate and very important truce with Saladin. It is a masterpiece of statecraft, designed to buy your weakened kingdom precious years of peace to rebuild its strength. 2 weeks after the treaty is signed, you receive the news. Reynaud of Châtillon, in a spectacular act of bad faith, has celebrated this new era of peace by riding out from Kerak and attacking the largest and wealthiest Muslim trade caravan of the year. He has broken your royal truce, stolen a fortune in goods, and taken every merchant and guard prisoner, demanding a massive ransom. You are incandescent with rage. This is not just an act of piracy. It is a direct, personal insult to you and a catastrophic breach of your sworn royal word to Saladin. You immediately send a command to Reynold. You order him to release the prisoners and return the stolen goods, as required by the treaty. He sends back a polite but firm message, essentially telling you to mind your own business. He says that he is the Lord of his own lands, and that there is no truce with the enemies of Christ. Your attempts at foreign policy are being constantly and deliberately sabotaged by your own colleagues. This is where your illness, a callback to the creeping paralysis that haunts your life, becomes a catastrophic political weakness. A healthy king in your position would gather his army, march on Kerak, and teach his rebellious vassal a brutal, unforgettable lesson in feudal obedience. But you can barely sit on a horse for more than an hour. You are too sick and in too much pain to lead an army yourself. You must delegate. And the man you must delegate to, the man you have appointed as regent to act in your name during your periods of illness, is your incompetent brother-in-law, Guy of Lusignan. You summon Guy. You order him to force Reynold to comply. But Guy is weak, indecisive, and secretly an ally of Reynold's own political faction. He does nothing. He makes excuses. He is unwilling or unable to challenge a powerful and respected, if reckless, baron like Reynold. Your authority is shown to be completely hollow. You are the king, and you have given an order that has been openly defied, and you are physically powerless to enforce it. Whether Reynold's provocative raids were born of pure greed, a fanatical crusading zeal that saw any peace with Muslims as a sin, or a deliberate political strategy to undermine your peace policy and force a new, glorious war, is unclear. He was, in all likelihood, a chaotic and dangerous combination of all three. What is clear is the result. Saladin, enraged by this act of treachery and seeing your inability to control your own vassals, declares the truce void. He begins to gather his armies for a full-scale holy war, a jihad, to destroy your kingdom once and for all. Your desperate, intelligent, and carefully managed attempts to secure peace have been completely undone by one arrogant fool on the frontier and another, even more useless one in your own palace. Your reckless vassal, Reynold of Chatillon, has given Saladin the excuse he needed. The truce is broken. Saladin, enraged, gathers his forces and marches north from Egypt. But he does not strike at the heart of your kingdom in Jerusalem. He chooses a more personal and symbolic target. He lays siege to Kerak, the great desert fortress of Reynold himself, the very source of the provocation. This is a brilliant strategic move. It forces you into an impossible position. A small, petty part of you thinks it serves Reynold right. Let him face the consequences of his own foolishness. But the larger, more kingly part of you knows that you cannot under any circumstances allow a major Christian fortress to fall. You must march to relieve the siege. This is the next reason it sucks to be you. Your body has now almost completely failed you, but the demands of your crown remain absolute. It is the year 1183. You are now 22 years old, and the leprosy has entered its final, most aggressive stages. A callback to the creeping numbness of your youth. That numbness has now given way to a near-total paralysis. You can no longer walk. You can barely stand. Your hands, once skilled with a sword and the reins of a horse, are now curled into useless, claw-like appendages. The lesions on your face, a callback to your desperate attempts to hide them, are now so severe that you are almost entirely blind. You are a ruin of a man, and you must lead your army to war. Your council, the High Court, begs you to stay in Jerusalem. They argue that you are in no condition to travel, let alone command an army. They insist that you must appoint your feckless brother-in-law, Guy of Lusignan, as regent to lead the army in your stead. But you know Guy, a callback to your disastrous decision to approve his marriage. You know he is incompetent, and you do not trust him with the fate of your kingdom. So you make a decision that stuns the entire court into silence. You will go. You will lead the army yourself. When they protest that you cannot ride, you give a simple, chilling command, then you will carry me. You order them to build a royal litter, a lectica. This is an obscure but powerful symbol. In the ancient world, a litter was a sign of luxury, of decadent civilian comfort. For a warrior king to be carried at the head of his army is a sight so strange, so unprecedented, that it is both profoundly inspiring and deeply pathetic. You are a king whose will is so absolute that it transcends the complete failure of his own body. The journey to Kerak is a slow, agonizing procession. You lie on silk cushions in your litter, your useless body jostled with every step the porters take. You are in constant searing pain. You cannot see the landscape, but you can feel the oppressive heat of the desert sun. You can smell the dust kicked up by thousands of marching feet, and you can hear the grim, determined silence of your army. The motivations of Saladin in this campaign are complex. Did he withdraw from Kerak purely out of a sense of honor or respect for your courage, as some romantic chronicles suggest? Or did he make a cold, tactical calculation that a long siege against a well-defended fortress, with the entire Crusader army approaching his rear, was simply not worth the risk? The reality is likely the latter, but the legend is more powerful. The news spreads through Saladin's camp like wildfire. The Leper King is coming. The boy who defeated him at Montgisard, the king who is more spirit than flesh, is being carried at the head of his army. Saladin's emirs and soldiers are deeply unsettled by this news. They are not afraid of your army. They outnumber it significantly. They are, it seems, unnerved by the sheer, stubborn, and possibly insane willpower of a dying man who refuses to act his part. They are superstitious. They see your miraculous victory at Montgisard. They see your terrible disease, and they see a man who seems to defy the laws of nature. They do not want to fight a ghost. When your army finally arrives and crests the ridge overlooking Kerak, the great siege is already over. Saladin, upon confirming that you were indeed present, has lifted the siege and withdrawn his army back to the south without a single battle. It is your last great victory. But it is a victory won by your reputation and your sheer force of will alone. A callback to your glorious charge at Montgisard. The contrast could not be more devastating. Then you were a boy hero, an active agent of God's will. Now, you are a crippled, blind, and helpless invalid, a sacred relic being carried into the field of battle. You have saved the day. You have saved the treacherous Reynald of Chatillon from his own foolishness, and you have made the great Saladin turn and flee. But the effort has cost you what little remains of your strength. You have proven that your mind is still the mind of a king, but you have also shown the entire world that your body is now nothing more than dust, waiting for the wind to carry it away. Your victory at Kerak is a hollow one. You have proven that your name alone is still a weapon, but the effort has burned out the last reserves of your physical strength. The ride back to Jerusalem in your litter is a slow, agonizing journey into your own personal darkness. The leprosy, which has been a creeping tide for years, now becomes a flood. You are now completely blind. Your hands and feet are numb, useless appendages, twisted by the disease. You are confined to your bed, a king who can only rule through his voice, a mind trapped in a decaying prison of flesh. And it is from this bed that you must now deal with the final, festering wound in your kingdom, your own family. This is the next reason it sucks to be you. You must now undo your own greatest mistake, and in doing so, declare a quiet, bitter civil war against your own sister. Your brother-in-law, Guy of Lusignan, has proven himself to be a catastrophic failure. A callback to your fears about him, his incompetence during the Kerak campaign, where he hesitated to act, was a final confirmation of his weakness. You know that if you die and leave him as the regent and future king, Saladin will devour the kingdom whole. You have decided that leaving your kingdom in his hands would be a mistake on a civilization-ending scale. You summon the High Court to your chambers. The great barons of the realm gather around your bed. You cannot see their faces, but you can hear the rustle of their robes and feel the weight of their presence. With a voice weak from illness, but firm with royal authority, you publicly strip Guy of the regency and of his control over the counties of Jaffa and Ascalon. It is a public, humiliating rebuke. You have disgraced your own chosen heir, but you must go further. You must cut him out of the line of succession entirely. And there is only one way to do that. You must annul his marriage to your sister Sibylla. This is a major historical fact, a desperate and unprecedented political move. You summon your sister to your side. You are a dying, blind king, lying in your sickbed, trying to negotiate a forced divorce for your own sister against her will. It is the most miserable and awkward family meeting in the entire history of the Crusades. You plead with her, you command her, you tell her that Guy's incompetence will be the ruin of the kingdom. You tell her that for the good of the realm, for the safety of her own son, she must renounce him. And Sibylla, the sister you have spent your life trying to protect, defies you. The true nature of your relationship is complex, but in this moment it shatters. Whether she is driven by genuine love for her handsome husband or by the political machinations of your mother, Agnes, who is still Guy's greatest champion, the result is the same. She refuses. She chooses her husband over her king, her brother, and her kingdom. The primary sources written by your ally William of Tyre portray Guy of Lusignan as an unmitigated disaster. More recent scholarship suggests he may not have been as incompetent as portrayed, and that the opposition to him was as much about the native barons like Raymond of Tripoli refusing to accept any newcomer. But for you, in this moment, it is a devastating betrayal. Since you cannot get rid of your terrible brother-in-law through legal or familial means, you decide on one last, desperate gambit. You will bypass him entirely. If you cannot choose your sister's husband, you will choose the next king yourself. You summon the high court once again. You bring forth your nephew, Sibylla's son by her first husband, a small, sickly boy of 5, also named Baldwin, and you have him crowned as co-king to rule alongside you. He will be known as Baldwin IV. The plan is to ensure that when you die, the crown passes directly to the child, with your wise and competent cousin, Raymond of Tripoli, as his regent, cutting Guy and Sibylla out of the line of power completely. It is a clever legal move. It is also a profound tragedy. You are now putting the entire fate of your kingdom on the fragile shoulders of a small child. This is what is known as running out of good options. You have spent your entire life fighting to protect your kingdom. You have battled your own body. You have fought Saladin. You have navigated a court of vipers, and now, in your final days, your greatest enemy is your own sister, and your only hope is a little boy who is too young to understand what a crown even is. You have played your last card. The coronation of your 5-year-old nephew, Baldwin V, as co-king is a public declaration of your final will. It is a desperate, brilliant legal maneuver designed to protect your kingdom from the man you now see as its greatest threat, your own brother-in-law. But this act has taken the last of your political and physical capital. The final stage of your long, slow decay begins. You are now in the year 1184. You are 23 years old. This is the next reason it sucks to be you. Your mind is still the sharp, brilliant mind of a king, but it is trapped in a body that is now little more than a prison of pain and useless flesh. You are now completely incapacitated. You are blind. You have lost the use of your hands and feet. You are confined to your bed in a darkened room in the palace of Jerusalem, a king in name only. Your life has been reduced to a small, dark space. Your world is now a collection of sounds. The whispers of courtiers just outside your door, the distant clang of a blacksmith's hammer, the murmur of prayers from the nearby chapel. It is a world of textures, the feel of the linen sheets against your increasingly fragile skin. And it is a world of tastes, mostly the obscure but common palliative care of the era, expensive sugar mixed with water and spices, fed to you by your attendants to keep your strength up. It is a sweet, slow, and deeply miserable way to fade away. But even from your deathbed, you must still try to rule. You must secure the fragile succession plan you have created. You summon the High Court one last time. The great barons of the realm, a callback to the argumentative council you once presided over, gather in your chambers. They see not a king, but a shrouded figure, a living corpse. You cannot see them, but you can feel their presence, their ambition, their greed. With your mother, Agnes of Courtenay, acting as your voice, you dictate your final commands. This is your last, great historical act of statesmanship. You formally appoint your wise and competent cousin, Raymond of Tripoli, as the regent for your nephew, the boy king Baldwin IV. You make them all swear a holy oath, their hands on the relic of the true cross, to honor this arrangement. You try to build a fortress of vows to protect your young nephew. You even devise a complex plan for the future. If young Baldwin IV should die before he comes of age, the succession is not to pass automatically to your sister Sibylla and her husband Guy. Instead, the matter is to be adjudicated by a council of the four most powerful monarchs in Europe, the Pope, the Holy Roman Emperor, and the kings of France and England. It is a brilliant, legalistic attempt to prevent the civil war you know is coming. It is also an incredibly complicated plan that you know deep in your heart will be completely and utterly ignored the second you are dead. The extent to which the great barons of the realm, like Raymond of Tripoli, genuinely intended to honor your final wishes for the succession, or how much they were simply placating a dying king while sharpening their knives for the inevitable power grab, is a question that would be answered with brutal clarity almost immediately after your death. They swear the oaths, they promise to protect your nephew, they promise to honor your will, and then they leave your chambers and return to their scheming. You are left alone in the darkness, with only your pain and your thoughts for company. A callback to your glorious victory at Montgisard. You remember the feeling of the sun on your face, the thunder of your horse's hooves, the weight of a lance in your hand. It feels like a story about a different person, a hero from a book you once read. The boy who led that charge is gone, eaten away from the inside out. All that is left is this ruin. The sucky reality of your existence is this profound, tragic irony. Your mind, at the peak of its political and strategic brilliance, is trapped, helpless, forced to listen as the kingdom you sacrificed everything to protect begins to unravel just outside your door, and there is nothing more you can do. Your last great act of will is complete. The child, Baldwin V, is now co-king, and your cousin Raymond of Tripoli is his sworn regent. You have built the best possible fortress of laws and oaths to protect your kingdom after you are gone, and now there is nothing left for you to do but to die. This is the next reason it sucks to be you. Your entire life has been a relentless, agonizing struggle, and your death is not a glorious martyrdom on the battlefield, but a slow, quiet, and profoundly miserable surrender in a dark room. The final year of your life, from 1184 into 1185, is a blur of pain. A callback to the first numbness that stole the feeling from your arm. The disease has now run its full, horrific course. You are completely blind. Your face is a disfigured leonine mask. Your hands and feet are ravaged, the bones having been slowly resorbed by your own body. You are in constant, agonizing pain, soothed only by the sweet, expensive medicines your physicians give you. You are a living corpse, a mind trapped in a cage of decaying flesh. You have spent your entire life in a battle against your own body. Now, that battle is finally reaching its inevitable conclusion. The disease, which has been a patient and methodical enemy, is claiming its final victory. There is no glorious charge, no defiant last stand. There is only a slow, quiet surrender. You lie in your chambers in Jerusalem, a king who can no longer see his own kingdom. Your world is a tapestry of sounds. You hear the daily rhythm of the palace, the distant clang of the chapel bell, the murmur of Latin chants, the respectful, quiet footsteps of the servants who tend to you. And you hear the whispers. You are not even dead yet, and the court is already moving on. You can hear the whispers of the courtiers in the corridors. They are not whispering prayers for your soul. They are whispering about the succession. They are debating the strength of Raymond's regency. They are speculating on what your sister, Sibylla, and her worthless husband, Guy, will do when you are finally gone. They are already dividing up the furniture of your kingdom. The final thoughts of a dying king are, of course, unknowable. Did you die in despair, knowing your carefully laid plans were doomed to fail? Or did you die with a sense of peace, a quiet satisfaction that you had done everything humanly possible to save your kingdom, leaving the rest to the will of God? You think back on your short, brutal life. You remember the sun on your face as you charged at Montgisard, a callback to a moment of impossible, youthful glory. You remember the endless, tedious arguments of the High Court. You remember the face of your sister, a face you can no longer see but is forever etched in your mind. Her expression a mixture of love and ambition that has caused you so much pain. Was it worth it? The constant pain, the endless struggle, the sacrifice of your own body for this fragile, ungrateful kingdom. The Patriarch of Jerusalem and the priests are at your bedside now, anointing you with holy oil, performing the last rites. They are already planning your magnificent state funeral in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, the most sacred place in Christendom. You will be buried near the foot of Calvary, a great honor. You will be remembered in the chronicles of your tutor, William of Tyre, as a pious, heroic king who, despite his terrible suffering, ruled with wisdom and unparalleled courage. It is a beautiful, noble legacy that feels completely and totally disconnected from the painful, lonely, and frustrating reality of the life you actually lived. In the spring of 1185, at the age of 24, you finally let go. Your long war is over. Your suffering ends. Your last breath is a quiet, shuddering release from a body that has been a prison for more than a decade. You, Baldwin IV, the Leper King, are dead. And the fragile peace you sacrificed your entire life to maintain is about to die with you. You are dead. You are given a grand state funeral, a callback to the great honor the kingdom pays you in public. You are buried in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre at the foot of Calvary, a stone's throw from the tomb of Christ himself. You are remembered as a hero, a saint, a martyr king. Your kingdom, however, does not take a moment to mourn your passing. It immediately dives headfirst into the catastrophic political crisis you spent the last agonizing years of your life trying to prevent. It seems your very detailed legal memos and sacred oaths were not in fact read by anyone. The crown passes, as you decreed, to your nephew, the child king Baldwin V. He is 8 years old. He is also, like you, a sickly child. Your wise and powerful cousin, Raymond of Tripoli, rules as his regent, just as you planned. For a brief, fragile year, the kingdom holds its breath. Raymond governs well. He maintains the truce with Saladin. He keeps the factions at court in a tense but stable balance. It seems your final brilliant plan might actually work. But the fate of your kingdom rests on the frail health of a single small boy. And then, in the summer of 1186, just over a year after your own death, the boy dies. The cause of young Baldwin IV's death is unknown. While many later chroniclers, especially those hostile to your sister Sibylla and her husband Guy, would hint at poison, it is far more likely that he was simply a sickly child who succumbed to one of the many fevers of the era. But in the paranoid, venomous atmosphere of the Crusader court, every convenient death is immediately assumed to be murder. The house of cards you so carefully constructed has just had its foundation pulled out. Now, the final power struggle begins. According to your will, a callback to your last desperate attempt at control, the succession should now be decided by a grand council of the Pope and the kings of England, France, and the Holy Roman Empire. Raymond of Tripoli, as regent, tries to enforce this. He summons the High Court, but your sister Sibylla and her mother, your own, Agnes of Courtenay, have other plans. They have been waiting for this moment. They stage a masterful political coup. While Raymond is away in the north, consulting with other barons, Sibylla's faction, supported by the treacherous Reynald of Chatillon and the new Grand Master of the Knights Templar, seizes control of Jerusalem. The patriarch of the city, a man in their pocket, agrees to crown her. There is one condition. She must agree to annul her marriage to the hated and incompetent Guy of Lusignan, whom the barons despise. In a brilliant, deceitful move, she agrees. She is crowned Queen Sibylla of Jerusalem. Then, in the moment of her coronation, she is told she may now choose a new husband to be her king and consort. In a final act of defiant, kingdom-dooming loyalty to the man she loves, she turns to the assembled court and chooses Guy of Lusignan. Before the horrified barons can react, she takes the crown from her own head and places it on the head of her handsome, talentless husband. He is now the King of Jerusalem. The kingdom you tried so desperately to save is now being led into its final existential war by the one man you knew, with absolute certainty, would destroy it. The kingdom is split in two. Raymond of Tripoli and the other native barons refuse to recognize Guy as king. They retreat to their own lands, threatening civil war. Saladin, watching this internal collapse with immense satisfaction from Damascus, begins to gather the largest army he has ever assembled. He knows the Christians are now led by a fool, and their house is hopelessly divided. The time to strike, the time to fulfill his own life's ambition of recapturing Jerusalem, has finally arrived. Your entire life's work, every moment of agony, every battle, every painful political negotiation has been undone in less than 2 years, and the stage is now set for the greatest military disaster in the history of the Crusades. You are dead and buried in the hallowed ground of Jerusalem. And the kingdom you left behind immediately begins its rapid, spectacular, and entirely predictable descent into oblivion. The final and perhaps most sucky reason to have been you is this. Every sacrifice you made, every moment of agony you endured, every brilliant political maneuver you executed to hold your fragile kingdom together was ultimately for nothing. Your entire life's work is about to be undone in less than 2 years by the very fools you tried so desperately to keep from power. King Guy of Lusignan, your incompetent but handsome replacement, proves to be an even worse commander than you feared. In the summer of 1187, Saladin, seeing the Christian kingdom hopelessly divided, makes his final move. He lays siege to the city of Tiberias, a territory belonging to your wise cousin Raymond of Tripoli. It is a deliberate trap. Guy, as king, is obligated to respond. Raymond, the most experienced commander in the realm, advises him to wait, to hold their main army at their defensible position with good water sources, and to force Saladin to come to them. It is a sound, cautious strategy. But your old nemesis, the reckless Reynald of Chatillon, goads Guy, calling him a coward for refusing to march to the aid of a besieged city. Guy, weak-willed and terrified of looking weak, caves to the pressure. He makes the single most idiotic and catastrophic military decision in the entire history of the Crusader states. He decides to march the entire army of the Kingdom of Jerusalem, every knight, every soldier, every Templar and Hospitaller, out of their safe encampment and across a barren, waterless desert in the middle of July, to fight Saladin on ground of Saladin's own choosing. It is an act of tactical suicide. The Battle of Hattin on July 4th, 1187, is not a battle. It is a slow, hot, thirsty death march that ends in a predictable massacre. The Crusader army, tormented by the heat and desperately dehydrated, is surrounded by Saladin's forces. They are harassed by mounted archers and the smoke from grass fires set by the enemy. By the time the main engagement begins, your great army is already defeated by the landscape itself. They are annihilated. The entire military strength of your kingdom is wiped out in a single, stupid afternoon. In the aftermath, the holy relic of the true cross, which had been carried into battle, is captured. For the people of Christendom, this is not just a military defeat, it is a spiritual catastrophe. God has abandoned them. King Guy is taken prisoner, and Reynaud of Chatillon is personally executed by Saladin, a final, just reward for a lifetime of treachery. With its army gone, the Kingdom of Jerusalem is defenseless. Saladin simply marches through it, city after city surrendering with little resistance. Finally, in October of 1187, just 2.5 years after your death, he arrives at the gates of Jerusalem itself. The city, defended by only a handful of knights, surrenders after a brief siege. Saladin, in an act of magnanimity that contrasts sharply with the Crusaders' own bloody conquest of the city 90 years earlier, spares the population. He reclaims the holy city for Islam. The great crosses are taken down from the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Your body lies in its tomb in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and the city above now belongs to your greatest enemy. And so, your story ends, not with the memory of your own quiet death, but with the loud, crashing ruin of everything you fought to protect. You were the one man, a brilliant, courageous king trapped inside a dying boy's body, who had the will and the wisdom to hold the fragile kingdom together. Your entire life was a heroic, agonizing, and ultimately futile effort to delay the inevitable. You were a flickering candle that held back the darkness for 11 short years. The moment your light was extinguished, the darkness flooded in, and the world you gave your life to save was washed away as if it had never existed at all. Your legacy is that of a magnificent failure, a testament to the fact that sometimes even the will of a great king is no match for the foolishness of the men who follow.